Hello, Reverend Vaughn and Dr. Truman. Today we're going to be talking about artificial sweeteners. We're specifically going to be talking about two different artificial sweeteners. We're going to be talking about saccharin and aspartame. Saccharin, aspartame, which would be sweet and low and equal. The reason that I'm bringing this up is I want you to sit back and I just want you to listen to something here. Use of this product may be hazardous to your health. This product contains saccharin, which has been determined to cause cancer in laboratory rats. I don't know about you, but if something causes cancer in laboratory rats, I don't think I want to be putting it in my body. Another word for artificial sweeteners is actual chemical sweeteners. And the reason for that is there are chemists that have actually discovered these products. So if you turn to, actually I want to talk about my son. My son is bipolar. And the reason that I'm so passionate about artificial sweeteners is that for my son, artificial sweeteners were a trigger for him. That means that he would kind of puff up in his behavior. He would stick his chest out. He would get really agitated. He would be confrontational, 3-hour temper tantrums about 3 times a week. It was pretty rough. And so we called it hulking up. So on slide number 3, you can see I've got a really cool picture of the Hulk. And then on slide number 4, I just talked about the fact that sweeteners were a trigger for him. So let's go a little bit into the history of the two that we're going to be talking about, which are saccharin and aspartame. Saccharin was developed or discovered in 1879 by chemist Konstantin Fahlberg. Sadly, the reason it was discovered is he had done a poor job of actually washing his hands before he ate, discovered there was something sweet on his fingers, and went back to his laboratory to find out what it was, looked at everything in his shop, and discovered that it was a mixture of coal tar and benzoic sulfonide. And that was how saccharin was discovered, which is a bizarre thing for me to think that that's how a sweetener was developed. In 1908, there was a doctor who was part of what was called the Poison Squad. And with that, he had decided, after viewing multiple people becoming ill, he decided to actually start trying to see what saccharin did to people. So he started having everybody in this group consume huge amounts of saccharin and see what it was doing to their body. And it was destroying their body. And in 1908, Dr. Harvey Wiley decided that he should ban the product. And he went to different lengths to ban it. But sadly, Theodore Roosevelt was taking saccharin as a dietary weight loss program and said no, he was not going to ban the product. So in 1969, there was some more controversy about it, and some other scientists wanted to ban saccharin again due to testing that there were rats that ended up getting cancer, and in 1969 they got that label that we read earlier. So on the next slide, we'll go into the history of aspartame. Sometimes it's called aspartame. But in 1973, it made its debut. And again, it was accidentally discovered by a chemist that did not wash his hands properly. And this was by chemist James Schlatter. He was trying to concoct an ulcer drug and combined 2 amino acids, which were aspartic acid and phenylalanine. Sadly, there were so many different cover-ups with this particular drug. At one point, there was testing being done in the late 60s and early 70s, and there were rats that disappeared when they had tumors. There were several independent studies where chemists and scientists said this product should not be allowed on the market as a sweetener, and yet the FDA approved it. Theory is that the particular FDA commissioner at the time, who was put into office by Ronald Reagan, he went to work for the same company that 2 years later he went to work for the same company that developed this product. So there's definitely some conspiracy theory around that. On the next slide, you will see that sadly you won't be able to witness it, but there was a 60-minute report in 1996 where Mike Wallace had done a report where he confronted the artificial sweetener market, as well as talking to both sides. And even he was under the impression that this should not have been slipped through as a safe product because of all of the possible side effects to it. So let's talk a little bit about where artificial sweeteners are found, which is on that next slide. According to the aspartame.org, diet sodas account for 70% of the aspartame consumed. A 12-ounce can contains 180 milligrams of aspartame. In let's see. Oh, I can't find that straight right now. Another place that you're going to find artificial sweeteners is anything that's processed has a higher chance of having some sort of artificial sweeteners. We did not know this prior to my son getting his diagnosis, but we found it in our ketchup, we found it in the bread, we found it in the cereal, we found it in absolutely everything that he was consuming. So because of his bipolar, sadly, it was something that he was exposed to quite frequently. The other place that I found it was at Starbucks. I was very surprised at how much Starbucks has artificial sweeteners. Some of the health risks. Dr. McCullough has said that 92% of the independently funded studies identified at least one potential health concern. And sadly, 100% of the industry standard testing that was done by the artificial sweetener companies said that it was safe. 92% of the independent studies said that it was not safe. Yeah, complete shocker, right? Independent studies also found that aspartame caused brain cancer in lab animals. Your body mass index, your BMI, is 47% higher for those that consume artificial sweeteners. With that, they're not sure if you're consuming artificial sweeteners because you're overweight or if you're overweight because you're consuming the artificial sweeteners. So I do want to let everybody know that as well. But mice that consume saccharin develop lower glucose intolerance and may have developed cancer. And one of the things I had an opportunity to do a little bit of research and then talk to Dr. Truman here about what that means. When you need glucose for your energy, so with glucose intolerance, it means that you don't have the energy that you need to be produced in your body. So that's a huge detriment for glucose intolerance. One of the other things that I found too with a study said that 5 to 7 days after an acceptable daily intake of saccharin, 4 to 7 people had a poor glycemic response. So this was not a study that was just found in mice, it was also found in humans, and it was more than 50% of humans had that problem. So some of the other health risks, excessive amounts of aspartame do not allow your body to break down phenylalanine, and even small amounts disrupt your serotonin. And you need serotonin for your smooth muscle contraction, control of sleep, temperature, appetite, and neurofunctions. It also breaks down into methanol, and methanol turns into formaldehyde. So these are not things that you want in your body. The artificial sweetener company on that next page will tell you that phenylalanine is natural, and that's true, 4% you can find in meat. Sadly, though, one diet soda contains 50%. It's at a much higher level than we should be consuming anything naturally. On our next slide, I talk about the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. In 2010, two of the chemicals that you should not be consuming, one of them was aspartame. And it was listed as a chemical with substantial evidence of developmental neurotoxicity, which is taken from Kaplan. And then methanol is also listed as one of the chemicals to avoid. So those are both being produced in our bodies when we consume artificial sweeteners. Some of the side effects of artificial sweeteners on that next slide are headaches, changes in mood, fuzzy thinking, seizures, depression, panic attacks, vertigo, rashes, neurological and behavioral disturbances in sensitive individuals, which was my son. He was a sensitive individual, and that was taken from Humphreys. And then also cravings for carbohydrates. I just wanted to say with that, I talked to a client yesterday or a couple days ago, and her husband had vertigo. And when she cut out the artificial sweeteners, his vertigo went away. And that was a couple of years ago. And he's very thankful. He's in his 60s or 70s. He definitely doesn't need to be experiencing vertigo. So the last portion is, what does the Bible say? There was no artificial sweeteners during Jesus' time. So I just wanted to talk about a couple things. This I found very interesting. There were parts of Jesus' family, as well as some of those that were around him, that felt like he was insane. And I think sometimes when people are consuming artificial sweeteners, they may appear to be insane, and they're not insane. They're just appearing to be insane. So I think we as Christians need to be sympathetic to that. So John 10 verses 20 says, many of them said, he is demon possessed and raving mad. Why listen to him? And so I thought that was interesting. Corinthians 10:31 tells us, so whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do, do it in the glory of God. I want to make sure that whatever I'm putting in my body is good. I want everything to be good. I don't want to consume things that are going to be chemicals. And then the last one I really liked was Romans 12:2, which says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. But basically, we don't have to do what everybody else is doing. We can, if everybody else is drinking diet soda, guess what? We don't need to drink diet soda to lose weight. We should not be consuming it. And lastly, the conclusion is just this. Not everybody is going to have a sensitivity to artificial sweeteners like Equal or Sweet and Low, but some people are going to have a reaction. One of the things that we need to know is if somebody is all of a sudden having rashes or headaches or mood changes, maybe we just take a look at what they're eating and maybe recommend that they cut out the artificial sweeteners. And I think if we can do that, we can be more compassionate and be a healthier society. So hopefully I've been able to persuade you and Reverend Vaughn to not consume artificial sweeteners. Hope you're having a blessed day. Thank you.